when Christianity is done at the edge of a steel sword, that's not Christianity. That's in contrast to the teachings of Jesus. And so Greg Koukl, who's a Christian thinker and apologist, says no one would fault the Hippocratic Oath, which is a very rigid standard of conduct for physicians, just because there are some doctors who don't keep it. Well, we wouldn't say there's something wrong with the oath. We would, the code that they allegedly follow, we'd say there's something wrong with the individuals who don't live up to the ideals of the code. And that's the same thing with Christianity. When there are Christians who are not living up to the ideals of the teachings of Jesus, the fault is not with the teachings of Jesus, which is what Christianity is. It's with those who are not living up to the teachings of Jesus, which is the same for us every day. The evil that I do is not it's not the result of Christianity. It's the result of my own sinful nature and own sinful desires, and me giving into it, or giving into the teachings of my culture around me that are evil.
That's interesting, Michael, that you just said that, because I was reading and watching a lot of testimonials of people who have abandoned their faith in Christianity. And they actually said one of the reasons they abandoned their faith in Christianity was exactly this teaching that we have a sinful nature within us. You know, it's human nature and it's not good and it does bad things. But it seems from what you've been saying here that actually we actually need to come to grips. I mean, you don't need to be religious to realize humanity has a problem, and that problem originates from within the individual, each and every one of us. And so it seems to me maybe their objection is more of a hiding one's head in the sand from the reality of human nature. And when that reality exposes itself, for example, through Christianity, it'll do bad things just as it will do when it exposes itself in sports or in government and so forth.
Well, when your only hope of a utopia is humans,
you're in trouble.
Well, you're in trouble unless you deny that humans are bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you have Rousseau's teaching that if someone's just brought up in nature, they're good. They're going to be naturally good. It's society that corrupts people, and that has been bought into to a large degree. And so people are really Jekyll and Hyde about this. I mean, the same, and this is, I shouldn't just talk about non-believers, but all of us will do this. We will want to say, well, I'm not a bad person deep down, Oh yeah, you are. You were born in original sin and you're depraved to the nature. I don't like that teaching. There's no way I'm not that bad. But on the other hand, when they do things wrong or they see other people do wrong, they say, well, I'm only human. And so, we will emphasize one part of it or the other to justify ourselves. And I think we all do that.
There seems to be a feedback loop in that it's probably not either or, as where anything we do bad is just a result of our environment influencing it, nor is it everything we do bad is 100% as a result of me deciding to be bad. There's probably a spectrum here that we are influenced by our culture, but we are also influenced by our human nature.
Yeah.
And when we recognize that, then we can see there's actually a feedback loop, because if you want to find out why is this culture not doing well, and that could be right now, or it could be the Crusades, could be the Inquisition or the witch burnings, why is it not doing well? Well, it starts with the individual having problems that are permeating and affecting society, but then that feeds back and amplifies the already problems that are there within the individual, which exasperates then further the problem in that society, and it just keeps ramping up until something happens to step in and put an end to that feedback loop.
Yeah, that's right. And there's an interesting additional point to all this as we kind of close this first topic. Alistair McGrath is a Christian scientist and a theologian. He points out that Christianity contains within itself the capacity for self-criticism. So we can and should compare our behavior with norms that God has set out for us in his example and commands. And so McGrath says, I fully concede that there are those who fail to live up to that, but there is a challenge that can be issued to them. Why behave like this when there is the norm before you authorized as to what God would like us to do? So for Christians that are violating the teachings of Jesus, we just need to point each other and the Christians back to the norm. That so this is how God would like you, would want you to live. It's hard for unbelievers to find a norm to do that. In fact, that raises the other point that is going to come up repeatedly as we discuss all these things, and that is that what is the basis for the judgments we're making that Charlemagne was wrong, or that using force to spread your religion is wrong? You know, Muslims, you shouldn't do that, or any other bad thing that we're going to look at. The grounding for our judgments is actually Christianity itself, which is what Tom Holland has been saying in Dominion, and Glenn Scrivener's been saying in his book, The Air We Breathe, that we wouldn't even be making these judgments that these things are wrong if it wasn't for Christianity, because there's nothing in the ancient world that would have said it was wrong. And
or
so
most of today's world. Like, other than a few areas in the world, this stuff still happens.
that's right. Other than the areas that have been thoroughly drenched with Christian values, this stuff still happens. You're exactly right.